several relatives are returning back to living off the grid. How do we live off the grid and not be energy dependent on modern electrical grids, but going back to our traditional ways of life?
Well, hey everyone, welcome. I'm Rachel with Artisans of Nations, a storytelling platform dedicated to honoring Indigenous arts and culture. I'm so excited to be here in the heart of Santa Fe and sovereign Santa Fe in La Fonda, and we are having our continued video podcast series during this weekend. I'm so honored to welcome our next guest. She is a community advocate for cultural rights. Please welcome with me, Chenoa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit about what you do?
Thank you so much, Rachel. Yad educator Diné a Kwan Dosokayagi Chenoa Bah Stillwell Jensen Yinshia Ado Netin Schlene Zilklani Inshle Hanagatni dot Katnasani dot Trochane Ado Hishkana Zoid and Hik Ado English dot French Canadian Bashichin Ado Ashihe Dashache Ado English 8 Dashanelle Seya Trodo Isadan Nasha Ado Bitlin Shnani Kwa Sada Kon Daryl Jensen Willia Ado and he wait hullo Shante Dan Willia Ado Shama Ba Willia. I'm grateful to be here today with each of you in the sacred Pueblo lands of the Tiwa, Tewa, Toa, Keres people, but also the incredible connections of our Indigenous communities from all over the world. And as the five-fingered ones, we've gathered here for Swaya's Indian Market and free market, as well as other Indigenous arts and music and sound. But I come to you as a mother, as a companion, as a daughter, as a granddaughter of weavers, of traditional medicine bundle carriers. And I'm here to walk the path of our clans. My mother and our grandmothers, our matriarchs, are of the Mountain Cove clan of the Diné Nation. My father was from Washington and Oregon, and my grandfather, our clans from our maternal grandfathers are of the Salt clan. So if I have any relatives out there, I greet you and greet each of you with an open heart and a handshake. But I'm here to really support how we walk upon our Earth Mother, Nahasan Yama, and how we take care of each other and take care of our waters, our mountains, how we walk amongst the stars, our star nation, and how we breathe together the traditional lifeways and immerse ourselves in our traditional values. In our way, we honor the light, we honor the darkness, we honor our plants, our plant medicines, we honor our food medicines, and then also our beings. Our traditional way of life really looks to how we raise our children and our taking care of our elders. So as a young Mountain Cove woman, I wish to ensure that our young people learn our traditional languages, walk the traditional way of life, but also learn how to integrate that into modern ways of wellness and healing.
I'll let the audience know how we met was quite filled with destiny, and we were hosting a museum exhibition at the Museum of Contemporary Native Arts, and it was called The Land Between Us, and it was a summer exhibition. And I was then introduced to Chenoa for her work with housing justice, and things just kind of synergetically connected all together. And so I was really moved by our conversation, and I'm so grateful for this time, because I feel like it's so important for others, a broader audience, to hear your perspectives that you give, especially as an advocate and also a professional in different fields that you work in and communities. Can you share a little bit more about the work that you do in different communities?
Thank you so much, Rachel. It was really profound to see Rachel's art and the art of other artists at Institute of American Indian Arts. And from that day, I felt empowered, and it aligned with the work that we do in Albuquerque, New Mexico, in the Southwest, to really support our unsheltered relatives. We call that sense of feeling Badajo Baegi, to really honor our people that are suffering and hurting. How do we protect our most marginalized, most vulnerable? Could be families that are at risk for homelessness, could be children who are unsheltered, it could be human and sex trafficking, it could be being survivors of trauma. How do we ensure that they are never forgotten? How do we honor them and think about home in a new way, especially if they're living in the streets? There's incredible programs now in public health in the School of Medicine called street medicine. And so it's really powerful to see doctors and nurses meeting people where they're at on the streets, all taking what's known as a servant's position, where the provider bows to the person in the street in a very humble and loving and caring, compassionate way. Wow. So that the individual doesn't feel that they're looked down upon, that they're stared upon, that they're actually being uplifted with kindness and compassion, that there is medical care, there is cultural care, there is potential housing support or shelter support. So it's really important. We may all have family that may have gone unsheltered or may have gone through different pathways away from a safe place. And many times that's out of their control. So how do we release judgment? As I teach my medical school students and nursing students, pharmacy students, teaching them to go into patient-centered care, cultural-centered care, community-centered care. To listen is the point of medicine, not to prescribe, not to diagnose, but it's to listen to storytelling, as you were sharing, Rachel. And how do we create that space of home? Our body in Hitsisiki, in Sikesiki, this is our home. So we truly are never unhoused. We walk with our heart, our mind, our being, our prayers, our songs, our values. So we nourish our home every day. We care for our home every day. But what about for individuals who may be feeling lost or disconnection from their identity? How do we support that with nourishing language, with kinship language, with loving language again? So that's a part of my work is to really promote health and intercultural communication for our college students, but also to mentor our children, K through 12, to learn our traditional languages, to go to ceremonies, to be a part of passage of rites ceremonies for our young people who are children that are becoming adolescents, through our sweat lodge ceremonies for our young men, through our rites of passage ceremonies called kinalda for our young women, to persevere that every generation has always had some kind of barriers and challenges, of course, genocide and termination. But how do we continue to thrive with our languages, with our reconnection to our clans and our identities, but also to know that we are always walking home when we greet one another with kindness and compassion. With the word yat-e alone in Diné, yat-e is the root word. Yat-e means it is good, but it also means hello. It means I greet you with the universe. Ya'asni is the center. Ya'ash is the universe. So when we say yat-e, we're greeting each other with the center and the universe. So as Dr. David Begay says, we speak a quantum language. And this language is our home as well. When we hear those traditional terms and those traditional greetings, we are welcomed back home.
That's so beautiful to hear in different languages the sense and the meaning of home and how important that is to a way of life for an individual and a community. Can you share a little bit more? Something that struck me also while getting to know you is talking about home and traditional ways of living, but actually having a different mindset and perspective of it, even if we're not from that community. How can we see Native communities and housing justice looked at from someone who's not from that community?
Thank you so much, Rachel. I've been learning throughout my lifetime from how our elders treat the earth, how we sit upon our Mother Earth, Nahastan Hima. And it is through the dirt, the earth, that we learn about ourselves. And when we reconnect people that have never sat upon the earth to garden, to grow foods, to harvest foods, they come home. The earth, the Mother Earth is all of our homes. So when we sit upon the earth, when we touch our hands upon the earth, when we are walking upon Mother Earth or running upon her, we are home again. So the value of returning home for any person, especially an Indigenous person, is to really reconnect to those sacred elements of the earth, the fire, Tuasan, our water woman, and the air. Those are similar in all different cultures around the world. We hear about the values of feng shui in Japanese way of life, that they need something that represents the air, the water, the fire, the light inside their homes.
Learn more about Indigenous art, stories, and culture in our newest coffee table book titled The Land Between Us. Get a special 10% off with code PODCAST at artisansofnations.com/volume 2.
Just like our traditional maternal home, we have several types of homes. Our first home was our sweat lodge. And then came our other homes, our female home, then our male home, our Alchitaza, as well as our cha'o, our shade home. But we have many more homes as well. So when we return back to these sacred elements, it's cross-cultural. There's intercultural strength and resilience. And we can identify when we talk about rest, ha'agi, talk about ceremony, talk about prayer, what elements do we need in a home to make it a home? In our octagon maternal home, our Howannamaza, there's a center area of the fire. Then the doorway always faces east to greet the morning sun. So that feeling of greeting the sunrise, greeting the sun, having the center of the fireplace, that is how we also walk. Our center fireplace is our heart, our thinking, our way of life. But then also how we greet the sun is how we greet each other. So there's these cross-cultural, cross-generational teachings that have spanned thousands and thousands of years that are still in existence with us today. So when I look at maybe going to Taos Pueblo, or to a Pueblo home, I honor and really value how they take care of their kivas, their traditional home, all the different types of ceremonial homes they have versus living homes. And I just really feel like that's so important to relay to our children and young people, but also how that was represented in the art that you and your fellow colleagues provided. And that was a sense of reconnection and identity again to self and home and ancestors. To share with our audience, is there any practical ways that you are doing this to help give context to our audience? A lot of architects in Indigenous communities are finding ways to continue keeping the fire in the center, or they have a Howannamaza, an octagon with a modern type of home built together. A lot of several relatives are returning back to living off the grid. Several have spoken about how do we live off of solar power, how do we live off the grid and not be energy dependent on modern electrical grids, but going back to our traditional ways of life. I've seen this in the mound homes of the Mandan, Hidatsa, Rikara, and Ho-Chunk and other nations who are returning back to their mound homes as well. But I've also seen that beautifully done in places of healing, such as clinics, and also tribal colleges. If you look at Diné College as well as Navajo Technical University, you'll see a lot of learning is happening in the Howannamaza, in the Hogans, and also in our clinics. Nearly every one of our clinics in the Southwest have a connection to traditional way of life. At Gallup Medical Center, there is a Howannamaza as well as Chinle and other places. So I'm seeing this integration of modern medicine, but more so what we say is we should have an integration of traditional medicine into modern way of life. So we preface and promote traditional thinking and values over colonization, and then talk about how do we re-indigenize and reclaim.
I look forward to seeing more of how that all develops and grows with these architectural builds.
Yes.
Yeah. How can we find you? How can our audience learn more about the different projects that you're involved in, or to contact you to learn more?
Thank you, Rachel. The City of Albuquerque hosts our Southwest Indigenous Housing Justice Collaborative on their website under Office of Inclusion and Equity, OEI and OIE, and it's a part of their website under housing through Brandy Ami and Dylan Shahay, who's the Deputy Director of the program with City of Albuquerque. So our every 2 months we have a Zoom that promotes what we're talking about with Indigenous housing justice. And then also you can contact me through my email. It's my first and middle name, chenoabah@gmail.com. It's chenoabah@gmail.com.
Thank you, Chenoa.
Thank you. Thank
you. Thank you for tuning in. We're so grateful to be here again for the Santa Fe Indian Market and everything that's happening here in town. It's buzzing, it's exciting, and the artists are getting all the support. We can't do this without our supporters and community partners, especially to the City of Santa Fe, Office of Economic Development, and the City of Santa Fe Arts and Culture. We are ever so grateful for you and your partnership and all that you do in the City of Santa Fe. With all of that said, please follow us at Artisans of Nations on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, as well as major social media platforms. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting the artists and Indigenous culture. Till next time, keep sharing, keep creating, and keep listening as well. Many blessings and peace.